Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden. Welcome to Shifting Perspectives. Back to the lab, Pinky. I just realized something that my son said. So we're sitting here talking about astronomy and Plato, and he said something, I can't remember what, and I said, no, it's Plato's astrology. And he said, you mean astrology, like the stars? And I said, no, Plato's astrology. I said, I haven't studied it yet. Plato's astrology is not today's astrology. Today's astrology is garbage. I said, Plato's astrology was actually divination. And he said, divination, like divine. I said, and so I Googled divination. This is the definition of divination: the practice of seeking knowledge of the future. I do know that the reason why the Roman Empire banned astrology, Plato's astrology, divination, in the 4th century was because they did not like that the philosophers were constantly predicting their downfall and demise. That's it. That is it. They did not like the future telling. And I looked up divination, which means the practice of seeking knowledge of the future. And then I went, divine. Now, what dip fuck decided that the word divine had anything to do with God? Who did that? So now I'm researching.
Probably Christians.
I know probably Christians, but I don't want to have any kind of
Assumption.
bias. Yeah, I don't want biased opinion. I have to have an open mind. So I am opening my mind to the etymology of divine, because I don't know who. I don't know where or when or why. And apparently divine is an American actor and a drag queen. So, divine, of, from, or like God or God. Let's go etymology. Divine etymology. I want to know where and who this came up. Divine. Latin, divus, godlike. Which Latin? Is this modern Latin or classic Latin? Because that matters. It just says divus, Latin. That's so vague. All right, let's try something different. Let's do divination. Divination, meaning the practice of seeking knowledge. I want the etymology of divination, because something is up. Something just stinks. Aha! Now look at this. Now Latin, divinare. Now that's different. Divinare means to predict. Yeah, I know. I already looked it up. All right, so this is where, see, words tell truth. All truth lies in words, but you got to know where to look. Divinare is Latin. Again, it does not clarify which Latin, and it means to predict. And then it became divinat. Is that an I? I need to wash my screen. Let's take a look. Divinatio. Divinatio. And that, it just says Latin again. This is really, really vague. And it means to predict. Now, the word divine is not the same thing at all. It isn't even remotely close.
That's Old French.
I know it means Old French, but Old French puts it into the 14th century.
It says divine predict.
I know. Wait. Say that again.
It says divinaire predict.
Divinaire means to predict. Let me take a look at this. Divinaire. Okay, devenir. So the Old French, not Gaelic, French, which puts that in the 14th century, was devenir. Now this is divinus. Divinus is different in divinare. So this says from divinus to divinare, which is the Latin to predict. Where's my Latin dictionary? Oh, I lost it. And shit, do I have any of my Latin dictionaries here? Oh, I think I lost it in the divorce, so I don't have my dictionary here for Latin. All right, so divine, I want the etymology of the word divine. Oh, I'm down to this. Divus, divus, divus means God-like. God, I hate how Latin. Could you please clarify? Now, Deus means God in Old French. This is infuriating. Oh, this is sloppy. I see so much illogic right now and contradiction. And I'm just getting frustrated. I got to think about this. I need to dig deeper. There's something just fishy. I can feel it in my bones because it's not logical.
Sanskrit.
Yes! Deva! Yes!
Hinduism.
Hinduism! Deva! See, and I had a hunch. I was feeling it. I'm like, Zoroastrianism. Yes! Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. All right, now let's get to it. Deva, a member or of a class of divine beings in the Vedic period, which in Indian religion are benevolent and in Zoroastrianism are evil. Zoroastrianism. Now that is like blinking up my brain. Something is 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 I've got something here. Let's go to Zoroastrian. Let's go to Zoroastrian. I haven't studied Zoroastrianism in so long. All right.
What's a cognate?
Cognate is a word usage like noun, pronoun. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I have to go back to the beginning, but it's basically grammar. The name Zoroaster is a Greek rendering of the Avestan name Zarathustra. He is known as Zartosh in Persian. Persia is Constantinople. Roman later, but much, much later. This is pre-Roman. Oh, I love pre-Roman shit. It's not tainted. Oh, I love it when it's pre-Roman. The first surviving reference to Zoroaster in English scholarship is Thomas Brown in the 1600s, who briefly refers to Zoroaster in his 1643 Religio Medico. Theology. Zoroastrians believe that there is one universal, transcendent all good, self-gods, greater deity, the wise Lord. Theism, dualism, monotheism, pantheistic. God, this is so fucking old. What? Give me texts. Give me ancient texts. The roots of Zoroastrianism are thought to lie in common prehistoric Indo-Iranian religious system dating back to the early 2nd millennial BC. The prophet Zoroaster himself, though traditionally dated to the 6th century BC. 6th century BC puts him at the time of, boom, Pythagoras. It is thought by many modern historians to have been a reformer of the polytheistic Iranian religion. Give me ancient texts. Zoroastrian tradition names is the home of Zarathustra and the birthplace of the religion. Considered Zoroastrianism to be the homeland of the early Iranians and the place where Zarathustra received the religion from Ahura Mazda. The Avesta also names it as the first of the 16 perfect lands. Avesta, that sounds like an ancient text.
Actually.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Vedic. Yeah, that's the Hindu documents. which I'm going to go over to ancient texts here in a minute. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember we're still just looking for divination. Now, the reason why I'm on this Zoroastrian kick is because of the Magi.
Divas has 3 footnotes that led to that page.
I know. Yeah.
Which is why I was thinking about that.
Right. But I need the logic. I have to follow the logic. I can't just like, there's a difference between just doing this and being mindful. I have to track it.
Oh, yeah, I thought that you could track it from there as well.
Yeah.
Cross-reference.
No, this is, see, this is where Zarathustra and Pythagoras are like linked, because Pythagoras is over here and Zarathustra is over here. But I'm going, what the fuck is this word divine? And this is where I believe the word divine is not a god or of a religion or of a god. I believe the concept of divine meaning of a god is bullshit. I think that the word God later became synonymous with being able to see the future. So that, but if you look at also the word, the Latin word and the Greek word for God, and this is where logos also is part of it, logic. So this is all starting to merge together. And the word divine today is just, it reeks of second perspective garbage. And that's my problem with it, is it just sniffs out like second perspective garbage. And I don't want the second perspective translation. That's garbage. I don't want the sixth perspective translation. I want the truth, which is subjective. But the second perspective does not have the big picture. They've got 2 fucking perspectives. The sixth perspective only has 6 perspectives. I'm sitting here at the 12th going, great, can we have the big picture, please? All right, thanks. So the question is, what's the big picture? And divine being defined as of God is just that's a small picture. That's a 2 steps into this massive thing. And then the concept of it being spiritual, well, again, that's just, I want the physics. Show me the physics. I want the science. Now, recorded history. Following the unification of the Median and the Persian empires in the 550 BC, Cyrus the Great and his son Cambyses II curtailed the powers of the Magi after they had attempted to sow dissent following their loss of influence. Oh, this is classical antiquity. Zoroastrian entered recorded dates in the mid-15th century. Herodotus, Herodotus, Greek historian and geographer from the Greek city of Halicarnassus, part of the Persian Empire and later citizen of Thurii in modern Calabria, Italy. He's known for having written the Historias, a detailed account of the Greco-Persian Wars. According to the later Zoroastrian legend, Dankard in the Book of Arda, many sacred texts were lost when Alexander the Great's troops invaded Persepolis and subsequently destroyed the royal library there, because that's what they fucking do. Thank you, compliments of Rome. Let's completely pillage and destroy all the literature. Yeah, that was actually the very first clue that Christianity and Romans were the same people, is because both of them destroyed books. As late as, do you know how? Yeah, I won't get into it. Due to its ties to the Christian Roman Empire. There it is, Christian Roman Empire. Persians' arch rival since Parthian times, the Sassanids were suspicious of Roman Christianity, as they should be. And after the reign of Constantine the Great, Constantinople I, sometimes persecuted it. The Sassanid authority clashed with their Armenian subjects in the Battle of Arve in the 451 CE. Making them officially break with the Roman Church, another schism. But the Sassanids tolerated or even sometimes favored the Christianity of the Church of the East. That's your Orthodox religions. The acceptance of Christianity in Georgia, Caucasian Iberia, saw the Zoroastrian religion there slowly but surely decline. But as late as the 5th century CE, it was still widely practiced as something like a second established religion. Now, I don't want to get into the Middle Ages. All right, so let's get out of Zoroastrianism. Divination. Divinare, to predict. Astrology. Etymology. Star logic. That's what it means. If I had to reverse engineer Plato's astrology, how would I do it? Well, I would first study astronomy and physics. That's how I would do it, which is exactly what you need accumulated with the star logic. You have star logic. And you have astronomy. And you have physics. No, the universe is saying, no, you're not ready yet. I hear you, girl. I hear you, girl. Something's out of order. Something's out of order. Something is out of order. Divination. According to the Roman Empire, they had a problem with the philosophers being able to predict their demise. And they got so pissed off about it that they made astrology illegal. That's really highly suspicious. I don't think divination has anything to do with a god. And I think the word divine has been bastardized over the world. Every time I hear the word divine influence, ugh, gross. Why? All right, let's go back to the theorem, the proof, logic. God. Let's just look at the word God. Fuck, I hate the word God. All right. God. Etymology. Oh, it's Germanic, which means good. That's so archaic. All right, let's try Deus. Latin Deus and Divus. Deus, Domini. No, let's go back. Domini is Lord. Divus. Divus is divine. Deus is Latin for God. Are in turn descended from Proto-Indo-European Divos, celestial. From the same root, D-Y-E-U-S. The reconstructed chief god of the Proto-Indo-European pantheon. Deus. And both of those words descended from D-E-I-W-O-S, which means celestial. Classic Latin. Now we're getting somewhere. Deus is classic or ecclesiastical Latin. Thank you is the Latin word for God or deity. See, Deus, deity. There we go. There we are. That's what I'm looking for. Deus, deity. Deus, from celestial. Latin Deus and Divus are in turn descended. In classic Latin, Deus, the feminine being Dea, was a general noun referring to a deity, while in technical usage, divus or diva was a figure who had become divine. I'm going to say that again. It was a figure who had become divine. If that isn't, I started off as a man and now I'm a god. We call that deitizing. So diva or divus. And God, I wrote it in dolor and shadow. Before the gods had done the deeds that would deify them. such as a divinized emperor. In late Latin, so there is classic Latin, late Latin, and then there is modern Latin, which is why I was like, come on, what kind of Latin? You got to know what kind of Latin in order to know what time period you're dealing with, because that's going to tell you what psychology you're dealing with. This matters because if you're dealing with classic Latin, you could be in late antiquity, which is where you get Pythagoras, Plato, and Socrates. But if you're dealing with modern Latin, now you're dealing with Roman Empire. Modern Latin. But get into, what is it called? I just had it here. Late Latin, now you're looking at the 14th century Latin, the stuff that was used during the churches and Shakespeare's time period. And now you're looking at things like the I and the J. Now you're looking at the evolution of Y to Z and all that jazz. So it's really fucking important that you know which Latin you're dealing with, because it's going to tell you if you're dealing with Milton, or if you're dealing with early Roman Empire, or if you're dealing with the pre-Roman mindset. So the Latin matters. All right, I'm done on my soapbox. Now, in late Latin, Deus came to be used mostly for the Christian God. Boom, there it is. It was inherited by the Romance languages in Galician and Portuguese, Deus, Catalan and Sardinian, Deu, French and Occitan, Deu. Now we're getting into a few languages I can't pronounce. Italian, Dio, Spanish, Dios, and for the Jewish God, Ladino. And then there's some Hebrew. Dio, and by the Celtic language, Welsh, Du, and Irish, Dia. There you go. While Latin Deus can be translated as and bear superficial similarity to Greek Theos. Now we're getting somewhere. Theos. Interesting. Oh, is that interesting? How could I have not seen that before? Theos. What the fuck is that? So the TH has a very interesting history to it. The TH is only known in one other language. The language is Futhark, elder or younger Futhark. Futhark is actually referred to as the theta, or the thorn, and we see it in Old Norse, which is where we have Thor and thorn, or Theos. And I'm going, wait, Greek has a th sound, and so does Old Norse have the th sound. The th sound in English, like father, is father. Then that's your F-A-T-H. This is 100% an Old Norse word. And I'm going, son of a fucking bitch. Is there a connection between classic Greek and Old Norse? Ooh, my logic screams yes. Why else would they have a TH? This is fascinating. I'm going to set that little project off to the side. That is so fascinating. The TH doesn't exist in any other language. It's Greek and it's Old Norse. I had no idea that it was Greek. I never studied Greek. I had no fucking idea. I studied Old Norse. I studied Latin. Like, boom. Okay, I gotta focus. While Latin Deus can be translated and bears superficial similarity to Greek Theos, meaning God, these are false cognates. A true cognate is ancient Greek Zeus, king of the Olympian gods in Greek mythology. In the archaic period, the initial zeta would have been pronounced such that Attic Zeus would phonetically transliterate as Zeus or Zeus from Proto-Hellenic. That's what I'm talking about. By combining a form of Deus with the ancient Roman word for father, pater, Latin, one derives the name of the mythical Roman equivalent of Zeus, the sky god Despiter. later called Lupitor, or, oh, I'm sorry, Jupiter. That's an I-U-P-P-I-T-R. That's Latin. The I-U in Latin is a U sound. Like Ioannes is Jonathan, Y-O-N-N-E-S. So it's Jupiter, I-U-P-P-I-T-E-R, later Jupiter, because the J came in around the 1400s in Latin. So, Doric Greek, Romanized Deus. In the Archaic period, the initial zeta would have been pronounced such that Attic Zeus would phonetically transliterate as Zeus or Zeus from the Proto-Hellenic Zeus. By combining a form of D-E-U-S with the ancient Roman word for father, Latin pater, one derives the name of the mythical Roman equivalent of Zeus, the sky god Dispitir, later called Jupiter, from Proto-Italic Jus pater, descended from Proto-Indo-European root Deus pater, literally meaning sky father, D-Y-E-W-S, like right there, celestial. D-E-I-W-O-S means celestial, which just means sky. God, I wish I had my Latin dictionary. This would be so much easier. Pater means sky father. From the same root is derived the Greek vocative, O Father Zeus, Attic Greek. And whence is always derived the name of the Hindu sky god Dyaus, Pit, Vedic Sanskrit, Dies Pifir, and Proto-Germanic Tivos or Tus. Ha 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 ha! Hence Old Norse Tyr. That's right! Fuck damn! Now, I'm very familiar with who Tyr is. Like I said, language bears our truth if you know where to look. Now, what really sticks with me is the word sky. Sky. That is just plugging away at me, going, it's sky, Anna, it's sky. I know it's sky. Deus, Deus. Why would we do this? Why would we look to the sky? The heavens. What is in the sky? What is in the sky? See, if I were to just study astrology, it'd be just a bunch of second perspective rhetoric. It's too tainted with Rome. It's too parroted. It's like you've been playing the phone game for 2,000 years. Do you have any idea how diluted that garbage is? So every word out of everybody's mouth in modern astrology is a 2,000-year-old phone game. I am not interested in gossip, because that's all it is. It's 2,000-year-old gossip that has been repeated so many times that it's a beaten, wet rag of garbage. And I'm going to point out it's a fraction of the truth. If you want the truth, you have to go back to the original. Now, this is on the cusp of Roman influence. On the cusp. Pythagoras was Greek. Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, these were Grecians. A lot of people may not remember, but Rome defeated Greece. And when they did that, they completely annihilated the Greek culture. Not exactly. They adopted it. They cherry-picked the parts of the Greek culture that they wanted to keep. So you have to go back and study ancient Greek prior to the Roman imperialization that was. But people don't do that. So our culture today is Roman. It's not Greek. It's Roman, which is a completely different mindset than Greek. Fortunately, I studied both. So I can sit there and pull it apart and go, well, that's definitely Greek. Well, that's definitely Roman. And I saw no difference between Christianity and Roman. They're identical. But Greek is different. And I'm going to point out, my God, I can't get over the fact that Tyr is sitting here. The fact that he's this close to all of this. Okay, all right, go back to my studies in Viking. What did I know? I knew that they were huge on the ships. And they also had access to the Ru, the Slavic Ru. And that translated all the way down from Scandinavia and the river Danube to Alexandria. But Zabai, Rakadet. Rakadet was the name of Alexandria before she was Alexandria, before Rome took her. Rakadet. I studied Rakadet. Well, Alexandria. And Pharos was another one of her names. Pharos was her Greek name. Rakadet was her Persian name. Alexandria was her Roman name. Bantzabai was the queen of Rakadet. And that was during... Oh, it's so fucking weird pulling my own book to do my own historical research because I know I did it long ago and I can't remember. Oh, what time period did I give this? 10 years. Well, come on, Anna. Lorlenolin. Rakadet. The 1st century, was it? I'd have to go back on my footnotes. God, I'm going to figure this out. Astromonath. I want to... Well, if it was Rakadet. Rakadet. Well, Batzabai will tell me precisely what era that is because I know when she lived. So let me go back to Batzabai. Zabai. Zenobia. Aha. Zenobia, you gorgeous, beautiful woman, you. 272 CE. That's the era we're talking about. That is when Rakadet was Rakadet. Zenobia was born 240-241, Batzabai, her native Palmyrene name, Zenobia. Which is why the lighthouse of Pharos was there. All right, Zenobia launched an invasion that brought most of the Roman East under her way and culminated with the annexion of Egypt. Aurelian. Yep, there's that fucker. Aurelian was a Roman emperor who reigned during the crisis of the 3rd century. As emperor, he won an unprecedented series of military victories, which united the Roman Empire, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me think here. So there's Batzabai. Well, I'm glad I was able to figure. Now, let's go back to this one. A true cognate is ancient Greek Zeus, king of the Olympian gods in Greek mythology. Theos. Theos meaning God. Theos. Let's go back. Theos. Supernatural, being with superpowers. Ancient Greek. Let's go back further. From Proto-Hellenic, Theos, Mycene Greek, Deomatization of Proto-Indo-European word days, from day to do to put to place. Cognate, Phrygian, Deos to the gods, Old Armenian pagan gods, Latin festival days, Fanum temple, festus, festive. Despite its similarity in form and meaning, the word is not related to Latin Deos. The two come from different roots. A true cognate of Deos is Zeus. Boom! This is why I dig, people. This is why we look at European or with etymology. Deos means Zeus, the true cognate. Okay, now to answer my son's question, what exactly is a cognate? It's a root word. It is to have the same original meaning. So when you have a word that comes from 2 words, oh God, I haven't done linguistics in so long. You have a word like, author. There you go. Author is the cognate to authority and authenticity. There you go. So in this case, the true cognate of Deus is Zeus. And we just covered that in the previous article I was reading, where it explained that Zeus, which is ZD or DZEUS. So the cognate of Deus equals Zeus. Deus does not mean God. It means Zeus. So one of my favorite things to do is go to the museum called the Cloisters. It is a sub-branch of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. It's all the way uptown. It's upstate. That is a New York City joke. It is located just beyond the Bronx. It actually might be in the Bronx. It's been a while since. No, it's in Yonkers. I think it's in Yonkers. Yeah, it's upstate. So now I'm coming to you from Coney Island, so fuck you if you disagree with that. Anyway, that being said, if you go into the Cloisters is a monastery that was in Europe in the 1400s, that was brought over by Rockefeller. Rockefeller had the Cloisters, this monastery, shipped from Europe over to New York City. So we have like a 1400s monastery sitting in New York City. I love this place. It has everything. We have an Egyptian pyramid here. And I remember when I was going through the monastery, it was 1999. And the stone steps had been walked on for so many centuries that the steps were curved from the erosion. And I walked into this one room with all the busts. And there was like a table with all these busts lined up. And they were so old that somebody had scratched out Zeus and wrote Jesus over it in crayon. Hera was scratched out and someone had written Mary. True story. It wasn't crayon. It was actually stone. When the Christian religion took over, instead of recreating, and this is why Christ was whitewashed. It wasn't whitewashed. It was and it wasn't. What it was a bunch of Romans who went in and crossed out Zeus and wrote Jesus over in stone. So they just recycled images of Zeus and images of Hera, and they passed down from the centuries. That is what happened. The white people did not go in and whitewash this shit. Yeah, they did, and they didn't. They polished it, but it was already whitewashed the minute they decided to just recycle statues of Zeus and Zeus and Hera over from the 4th century. The Roman emperors ordained this shit. So, and they didn't hide it either. Like, it's so blatantly obvious. Like I've said, I'm sitting there looking at it, and there's Zeus written in the original ancient Greek that someone had carved out with stone and wrote Jesus in crayon. Like, it's so fucking blatantly obvious. And I'm like, wow, that wasn't intentional. That being said, the true cognate of Deus is Zeus. Despite its similarity in form and meaning, the word is not related to the Latin Deus. They come from completely different words. Deus, where we're back to that word, the Phrygian word. The cognate Phrygian is that interesting D-looking word that looks very similar, EWS. It looks like the word Jews, literally. Okay, now, and that's the word, well, let's put it here. D, I cannot, this is a Phrygian D, which is definitely a letter I'm not used to. E, W, and then this weird thing, which looks just like that. We're back to it meaning sky. So, to the gods, sky, celestial, stars equals gods. Are we really talking that primitive? Are we that fucking stupid? We would do shit like that. This is dumb. This is so fucking stupid. The stars aren't astrology. It's Greek. Anna, you know Greek, honey. I do know Greek. The constellations. That isn't second perspective. That's Greek. And it was later Romanized. This is Greek. Honey, you know this. The planets were Greek. They already did it for you. They already mapped it. You just got to read it. Greek, not Roman. Oh, I'm going to start with Taurus. Taurus is Greek. No, Taurus, Minotaur. Taurus, Minotaur. Minos, Menelaus, the Mennonites. You already did this research. This is old. Taurus. Now let's break this down. Wikipedia. Taurus is Latin. The reason why I'm starting with Taurus is because I am a Taurus, and yes, I am favoring this. I want the ancient Greek. I have to study Greek now. All right, I can do that. T-A, this word U-P-O-C, and this weird letter. Ancient Greek. I can't pronounce Greek. Is the second astrological blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit about that. History. The sign of Taurus is associated with several myths. Okay, yeah, several ancient cultures. It was the first sign of the zodiac. Mesopotamians. Mesopotamia. Oh, this is going to be so much easier than I thought. The great bull of heaven. That means sky. Constellation through which the sun rose on the vernal equinox, early Bronze Age, 4000 BC to 1700 BC. Mesopotamia. See, I don't want to get into this shit, but Mesopotamia, I do. Mesopotamia. Oh my God, I haven't studied Mesopotamia in so long. Tigris, Euphrates River, and the Fertile Crescent. I'm so happy. Mesopotamia. Oh my God, it's been so long since I've been here. It's in the Fertile Crescent. Sumeria was the next conquered by Alexander the Great. Of course it was. Mesopotamia is the site of the earliest developments of the Neolithic Revolution from around the 10,000 BC, identified as the inspired from the most important developments of God, this is agriculture. I haven't done this since wow. It's been almost 25 years since I've done this research. This is old stomping ground for me. I'm like, da, 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 da. I know this shit. I love it so much. Mesopotamia. Further distinction is usually made between northern Europa, Mesopotamia, and blah, 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 Baghdad. Yeah. Persia. Yeah, Fertile Crescent with the Euphrates and the Tigris River. I've always been a firm believer that if the Garden of Eden existed, it was just that slot of Fertile Crescent between the Euphrates and the Tigris Rivers. History. Mesopotamia. Statues of Gudrur. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm in the Neolithic time period. Yeah, God, this is old stuff. Sumeria. I'm just trying to find Greek. Mathematics, the Babylonian mathematics, Mesopotamian mathematics and science was based on sexagesimal, base 60 numeral system. This is the source of the 60-minute hour, the 24-day and the 360-degree circle. The Sumerian calendar was lunosolar with 3 7-day weeks of a lunar month. This form of mathematics was instrumental in early map making. The Babylonians also had theorems on how to measure the area of several shapes and solids. They measured the circumference of a circle as 3 times the diameter in the areas of 1/12 1/12 the square of the circumference, which would be correct if pi were fixed at 3. 1/12 the square, which explains why the astrology, why the circle of fifths were all 12. The Babylonians were also known for the Babylonian mile. Algebra. The roots of algebra can be traced to ancient Babylonian, who developed an advanced arithmetical system with which they were able to do calculations in algorithmic fashion. The Babylonian clay tablet, YBC 7289, dated around the 1800 to 1600 BC, gives an approximation of pi, square root of 2 and 4 sexagesimal figures, 1, 24, 51, 10, which is accurate to about 6 decimal digits, and is the closest possible three-place sexagesimal representation of the square root of 2. The Babylonians were not interested in exact solutions, but rather approximations. And so they would commonly use linear interpolation to approximate intermediate values. You know, it's interesting because the calendar, the Roman calendar, does also, where you did not have an approximate date. It was like a fortnight. It was a fortnight to the Ides. So it could be like 5 days prior to the Ides, very much like the Roman numeral system. It was the calends, which is the first of the month. It's when bills were due. And then there was, I can't remember, calends, Ides, and something else. But everything was in reference to 7 days to the Ides, or half a fortnight to the Ides, or half a fortnight after the calends, things like that. That's how they spoke. So it was an approximation, which is why the Ides of March, when Caesar was killed, is a variation. We're not quite sure if it was the 3.14 or 3.15. March 14th or March 15th, depending upon which calendar you use. Astronomy. Ba-da-ba-ba. From Sumerian times, temple priesthoods had attempted to associate current events with certain positions of the planets and stars. This continued to Assyrian times when Limu lists were created as a year-by-year association of events with planetary positions, which, when they have survived to the present day, allow accurate association of relative with absolute dating for establishing the history of Mesopotamia. The Babylonian astronomers were very adept at mathematics and could predict eclipses and solstices. Scholars thought that everything had some purpose in astronomy. Most of these relate to religion and omens. Mesopotamia astronomers worked out a 12-month calendar based on the cycles of the moon. I've been looking for you. I knew that 10-month calendar was bullshit, and I knew Julian calendar was garbage. A solar calendar is inadequate, which is why I started tracking the moon cycles, which is why I follow the moon. Mesopotamian astronomers worked out a 12-month calendar based on the cycles of the moon. They divided the year into 2 seasons, summer and winter. The origins of astronomy, as well as astrology, date from this time. During the 8th and 7th century BC, Babylonian astronomers developed a new approach to astronomy. They began studying philosophy. Oh my God, I love you people! Mesopotamia, of course you are, you beautiful people. They began studying philosophy, dealing with the ideal nature of the early universe, and began employing an internal logic, boom, within their predictive planetary systems. This was an important contribution to astronomy and the philosophy of science, and some scholars have thus referred to this new approach as the first scientific revolution. This new approach to astronomy was adopted and further developed in Greek and Hellenistic astronomy. I found the beginning! People! I found the beginning! Oh, this makes me so happy. I need to start here. Okay, I have found the beginning. See, this is why I started with Taurus. Because I knew Taurus was going to go Mesopotamia on it. Go back to Minos. Mesopotamia. You beautiful, gorgeous people, you. In Seleucid and Parthian times, the astronomical reports were thoroughly scientific. How much earlier their advanced knowledge and methods were developed is uncertain. The Babylonian development of methods for predicting the motions of the planets is considered to be a major episode in the history of astronomy. And look, there's a hyperlink. How convenient. Click. In a minute. The only Greek Babylonian astronomer known to have supported a heliocentric model of planetary motion was Seleucus. Oh, good God, I need to work on my Greek. Seleucus of Seleucia. Pretty sure he had naming rights of his own city. Born 190 BC. That is really a long time after Socrates, Plato, and Pythagoras. What the fuck, dude? Why are you, the good God, this is after Plato established his, Plato's already got his astronomy already situated. Why are you so late to the party? Oh, wait, because he supported a heliocentric model. So the heliocentric model wasn't even established until after Plato's already got his whole school going, yeah, I got like here Plato's astrology happening. Dude, the heliocentric model, how good can that possibly be? What is the heliocentric model? We're going to look into this. Is a superseded astronomical model in which the Earth and planets revolve around the sun at the center of the universe. Historically, heliocentrism was opposed to geocentrism, which placed the Earth at the center. Ah, yes. Interesting. Seleucus is known for the writings of Plutarch. Oh, okay, so we're talking about Plutarch. All right, now we're talking about, okay, now I'm on a name I know. So Plutarch is the only one who writes on Seleucus. So the question is, did he exist? Because we don't know, because Plutarch. He supported Aristarchus of Samos' heliocentric theory, where the Earth rotated around its own axis, which in turn revolved around the sun. According to Plutarch, Seleucus even proved the heliocentric system, but it is not known what arguments he used. Galileo was a 12th perspective. Except that he correctly theorized on tides as a result of moon's attraction. Babylonian astronomy served as the basis for much of Greek, classical Indian, Sasanian, Byzantine, Syrian, medieval Islamic, Central Asian, and Western European astronomy. And that's why we go to the roots of this shit. All right. I'm very excited right now. All right. So I have my starting point. All right. So I don't give a shit about any of this other stuff. Let me quickly look down here at religion and philosophy. That was the end, by the way, of astronomy. Now it gets into medicine. I don't give a shit. Gets into technology. Don't give a shit. Religion and philosophy. The ancient Mesopotamian religion was the first recorded. This I know. Yeah. Mesopotamians believed that the world was a flat disk surrounded by a huge hold space, and above that heaven. They also believed that water was everywhere, the top, the bottom, sides, and that the universe was born from this enormous sea. And I know about all this stuff. Mesopotamia is like the start of culture. Philosophy, the numerous civilizations of the area influenced by the Abrahamic religions, especially the Hebrew Bible. Its cultural values and literary influence are especially evident in the book of Genesis. Giorgio Bucciolati believes that the origins of philosophy can be traced back to early Mesopotamia wisdom, which embodied certain philosophies of life, particularly ethics in the form of dialectic, dialogues, epic poetry, folklore, hymns, lyrics, prose. By the way, all of those were subjects of mastery in Plato's University of Alexandria. Babylonian reason and rationality developed beyond empirical observation. Babylonian thought was also based on an open system ontology, which is compatible with ergodic axioms. Logic was employed to some extent in Babylonian astronomy and medicine. Babylonian thought had a considerable influence on early ancient Greek and Hellenistic philosophy. In particular, the Babylonian text Dialogue of Pessimism contains similarities to the agnostic thoughts of the Sophists, the Heraclitean doctrine of dialectic, and the Dialogues of Plato. I am so happy right now. As well as a precursor to the Socratic method. The Ionian philosopher Thales was influenced by Babylonian cosmological ideas. Okay, so I have found the beginning. I could not have asked for this more easy. Like, boom. Thank you, Taurus. Thank you, Taurus. By the way, this is how I learn. You just take something and you just trace it back to the language, and then you just, oh, there's the beginning. And as soon as you find Mesopotamia, oh, Mesopotamia is like, she's my happy place. She's my happy place. So now I know where to begin when I'm ready to start studying Plato's astrology, which I'm going to do now. Oh, yes, Mesopotamia. This is going to be really fun because now I get to translate the original stuff. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, I'm going to calm down now. Oh, this is very exciting. I'm very, very happy. All right, that was, by the way, off of Wikipedia. I have been using Wikipedia since, I don't know when I found Wikipedia. When did I first find Wikipedia? 2006, because that's where I got this from. That's where I got this from. Yeah. Oh my God, I got to think about this now. Oh, I'm so excited. Like, yes, Mesopotamia. Ah. All right, so if I focus specifically on the time period from Mesopotamia, mathematics, the astronomy and the mathematics. Now, the other thing that was really important to know, this is huge, is that they believed that the earth was the center. Now, we know that that's not the case, which is going to change a lot when I get into astronomy, because there's today's astronomy and then there's Plato's astronomy. So, and I'm certain of this. Because Plato created his academia, which was the precursor to the University of Alexandria. Like 150 years, give or take. I have to look up the exact dates before that dude from Plutarch mentioned his information regarding the sun being the center of the universe, or the sun being the center of the galaxy. So the astronomy that was taught at Alexandria was earth-centered, not sun-centered. Whereas clearly the sun is the center of the universe. So the astronomy I study is going to be sun-centered. Now, my question is, the astrology that everybody is regurgitating and all that garbage, is it earth-centered or is it sun-centered? Does anyone know? Now, I don't know anything about that astrology. I don't touch it, but that's really interesting to know. Can you tell me if that's earth-centered or sun-centered? And I don't know. I have no idea, because I have not studied astronomy yet, how relevant that is. So I'm sitting here on this side going, ooh, do I want to study Plato's or do I want to do my own thing? I'm going to have to do my own thing, because I am not, I love you, Plato, going to be basing my studies off of an earth-centered astronomy. So I'm going to have to go off of modern astronomy, knowing that that is not at all what Plato used. Nor, see, and I'm curious what the Zoroastrians used, because the Zoroastrians, they were part of this. Oh my God, were they? Now, I'm going to point out, Alexandria, if you don't know, Alexandria is like the crotch of the Fertile Crescent, which is Persia, Zoroastrian, which is Mesopotamia. Like, it's the same goddamn thing over and over again. Like, there's a reason why this place is at the core of all of this. So that's Mesopotamia. Yes, I'm very excited. I'm just so wrapped up over this shit. All right, so I have begun delving into Plato's astrology. I don't remember anything about Taurus, by the way. I just remembered that I was tracking it to go all the way back to the beginning. And I have found that with Mesopotamia, Plutarch, and the name Zeus. So we could throw out the fact that Deus just means Zeus. That is literally an evolution of the word Zeus. So now every time I sing anything in Latin, Deus Domini, like all I can hear now, Deus is Zeus, Lord Zeus. That's all I hear now is Deus Domini, is not God Lord or Lord God. It's now Zeus. That's all I'm going to hear. I wonder what the alphabet is, the DJ thing. DJ in Greek. DX. Interesting. Okay, let's change that around. Let's go JD. What? See, I'm going to have to study Greek. Yeah, I'm going to have to study Greek. Again, I never studied Greek. All right, Greek alphabet. How do you pronounce these words? I wonder what this sounds like. All right, I'm going to get out my... Yes! Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, pi, chi, psi, omega. Yeah, I think I looked at this once when I was a kid, and then I immediately jumped over to Latin because Latin was far more interesting. And this was not Latin. So I was like, no, I'm not interested. How do I even begin to speak this language? All right. Now, what am I looking at here? Is this Latin or, I'm sorry, is this, oh, wait, this is Greek. Oh, this is Greek. This is Greek. This is really going to be hard for my Latin brain to turn off. This is so fascinating. Wow, this is so fascinating. And I can't get over that theta. God, that's so fascinating. I wonder who wrote this alphabet. Where did it come from? Who wrote it? Creator. Greek alphabet creator. Who did this? Who did this? Who did this? Somebody wrote it. Who wrote the alphabet? The history of the Greek alphabet starts with the adoption of the Phoenician letters from the 9th, 8th centuries of the archaic Greek, continues to the present day, blah, 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 blah. The Phoenician alphabet was consistently explicit about consonants, even though the 9th century BC had developed matras lactiniones to indicate some most final vowels. Chronology, who created this? You should have seen me when I was studying Tolkien. I was like, who did this? Who did this? Oh my God. Tradition recounts that a daughter of certain Agamemnon, king of Aeolian Kime, married a Phrygian king called Midas. That is the Midas, by the way, as in the Midas touch, as in the King Midas of the Minotaur story inside, like the whole Minotaur story with Icarus and I can't remember his name, with the maze and the Minotaur, that Midas. Chronology of it, chronology, certain Agamemnon. I like of a certain Agamemnon. Like, dude. Nestor's cup inscription of the alphabet in the 8th century BC. Greek Dark Age. Oh God, it's been so long. The Phoenician alphabet was constantly explicit on all about consonants. The Greek alphabet was developed by the Greeks with first-hand experience of contemporary Phoenician script. The Greek alphabet was developed by a Greek. Wow. We're not going to give him naming rights. With a first-hand experience of contemporary Phoenician script. After it was established in the Greek mainland, it was exported westward to Phrygia. Where the Etruscans adapted the Greek alphabet to their own language, which eventually led to the Latin alphabet. All right. So it looks like I'm not going to get the name of that dude. Okay, Plutarch's account on this essay. So Plutarch, by the way, Plutarch, oh my God. First of all, Plutarch was there in and around Mount Vesuvius. Plutarch accounts the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Like, Plutarch is amazing. Plutarch's, oh my God, he's like one of my favorite Greeks. I really truly believe that Plutarch had affiliation with the library at the University of Alexandria. And I do strongly believe that Plutarch had the God Code. Like, solid on this. So, by the way, the God Code is just knowing about the philosopher's compass. That's all it is. It's the philosopher's compass, and it's the 12 stages of the self. And then it's understanding that the self is I, is God, is ego. That is the God Code. And it's understanding how we learn. and how to unlock using the God code, using the philosopher's compass to increase and ignite the upper thinking and entering into metaphysics. That's all it is. So I believe that Plutarch very much was an attendee. I believe that he studied at the University of Alexandria. But he was more of an explorer. He was a philosopher, but he really was a philosopher. Here you go. So Plutarch, he lived between 46 after 119. And he was a Greek Middle Platonist philosopher, historian, biographer, essayist. He's known mostly for historian, biography, and essay. Those are the three primary things because he recorded so much in the Roman life. We know 99% of the stuff we know because of Plutarch's records. He was born in a prominent family in the small town of Carionian. I cannot speak that word. Plutarch studied mathematics and philosophy in Athens under Ammonius from 66 to 67 AD. He attended the games of Delphi, met prominent Romans, including the future Emperor Vespasian. Yeah, his work is extraordinary. And yes, he did receive Roman citizenship at one point. He was a magistrate and an ambassador. Plutarch's best-known work is The Parallel Lives, a series of biographies of illustrious Greeks and Romans arranged in pairs to illuminate their common moral virtues and vices, thus it being more of an insight into human nature than a historical account. The Life of Alexandria, opening paragraph, Plutarch was not concerned with the history so much as the influence of character, good or bad. Yeah, moral philosophy. Life of Alexander, Life of Caesar. Yeah, this is Plutarch. So anytime you get into Rome and anything, you're going to find the word Plutarch. You're going to stumble all over it like, oh, hello, Plutarch. So he's very much a huge prominent feature with Romanology. All right. So I'm going to call this good. My brain is completely sponged up. It feels good. I walked into some very old friends today, Mesopotamia. I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy. Mesopotamia is like the beginning of all. Everything that we have at Mesopotamia, like, okay, so when you get into the world of agriculture, like we used to be hunter and gatherers, boom, you're in Mesopotamia. It's like prior to Mesopotamia. We study everything that we know about as far as mankind goes. I mean, we're talking archaic is pre-Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia was the first civilization right after agriculture. So we crawl out of the caves, not even before then. We're apes. We are chimps. I mean, we are like 2001 Space Odyssey chimp. That's what we are. We are the ape-like creature of 2001 Space Odyssey, and the monolith appears. And then we become like farmers, gatherers, and Neanderthals. And then we find the next monolith, and boom, there's Mesopotamia. We learned how to do farming at some point between there. But then as soon as we started making coin and passing coinage and having, we need to create this abstract called mathematics so we can tax the people. That's Mesopotamia. So once you get into that area, now you're getting into civilization. And there's like an entire psychology of Mesopotamia. This is what we call late antiquity and early man. And this was like my favorite part of psychology. This is where it all started for me, was Mesopotamia. And I never studied astrology because, well, I didn't realize at this time, because I hadn't gotten to this part yet. I didn't learn about astrology until I never did. I never learned about it because it was a bunch of hooey, I thought. I did, actually. I thought it was a bunch of hooey right up until 2019. In 2019, my sister moved in, and she was all about astrology. And I went into a scientific, let's explore the science. So I started to ask people on the dating apps for their sign. And I said, for scientific purposes, I want to know your sign. And I'm like, don't judge me. It's for science. And it truly was. I wanted to know consistently if there was any kind of a pattern with the zodiac signs. That's where my interest in astrology began. And I did start to see a pattern. Yes, I did start to see a pattern. And I went, interesting. Maybe there's something to this. And I went into I started to delve, like I scratched the surface. But then I started to notice that a lot of it was a bunch of bullshit and garbage. A lot of it got twisted into the religion. And now we're getting into the second perspective, watered down version of like, okay, what is this thing really? And then when I went back to the University of Alexandria and I was looking up the curriculum, and they said, well, it was like the very first subject that was banned right after they destroyed the Library of Alexandria in 380. The very next thing they did was they said, okay, Alexandria has been destroyed. And while we're at it, it is illegal to practice astrology. And I went, whoa, now that's fun. Why? What was so bad about astrology that the very first thing they did was ban it? Now I want to know what's in astrology. So my whole thing on astrology is what was so bad about astrology that right out of the gate, the Romans said, this is not allowed. Ooh, I love taboo. Tell me why. So yeah, but it's been watered down so horribly because it was banned, because it was illegal, that whatever we've got today is garbage. It's like, yeah. And according to what I was reading about on astrology, the real shit, this stuff was so fucking powerful in the area of divination that, yeah, that what is being said about it, like we're talking about predicting the future like crazy. And when you compare it to how minuscule it is today, they haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what astrology really could do, because we lost it. We lost all of it when we lost Alexandria. But I went to school at the Library of at the University of Alexandria. So I got all this stuff crammed into my head. And I'm going, I can see shit. So I am going to start reviving Plato's astrology. So the first thing comes down to, if it were true to his stuff, it would be Earth-centered astronomy. But and it's so vital that astronomy and physics are part of this. And it bothers me. I'm like, dude, come on, Plato. Dude, how could you not know that the Earth was the center of the universe? Like, how can you not know that? So now I really want to dig deep into, well, I guess that would be astronomy. Astronomy, history of. Because this bothers me. Why? Okay, so let me explain what just happened here. I Googled astronomy, history of, and I got something called a history of astrometry. And I went, what the fuck is this? What is astrometry? Astrometry. People began measuring the positions of the stars thousands of years ago, and story of the measurement of stars is a story of some of the most talented and dedicated scientists who've ever lived. Okay, I'm going to create it's going to be on my website. Where am I going to put this shit? Where am I going to put this shit? I don't know where I'm going to put this shit. It's going to be under the classroom. Let's put it under the classroom. I'm going to create a page because I want to track my trail, my link trail. The link trail. You guys can like trail this. You're going to love it. This is how I learn. This is how I've always learned. But you basically map it with words. When you map it with words, you can trace it back to who came up with what, where, when. And the words will tell you, this is what I mean by I study linguistics. The words will tell you who had what, when, where. But you have to be able to read linguistics, as in go to the etymology of where did the word come from, because words literally are cookie crumbs throughout our entire history that show you where everything has been. It's really fascinating. So the link trail. And today we talked about Mesopotamia. And then this is now on something called astrometry. And I'm going to plug this in. So if you want to see what I'm using, it'll be on my website. A History of Astrometry, Part 1, Mapping the Sky from Ancient to Pre-Modern Times. Stone tablet of Shamash, the sun god from the ancient Babylonian city of Sippar. The moon and comet Halley comet bop over the Great Pyramids of Giza in 1997. Curiosity to inspire ancient Greece. It was much later in the 3rd century BCE that Greek astronomers first attempted to use astrometry to estimate cosmic scales. Among other sciences, astronomy flourished at Alexandria, a Greek colony off the northern coast of Egypt, with a renowned library and museum. I am familiar. The dominant view of the cosmos among scientists was geocentric. The dominant view of the cosmos. What does that mean? Geocentric. Oh, the Earth being at the center. Having or representing the Earth as the center, as in former astronomical systems. Oh, how nice. I get graphs of what the Earth looks like at the center of the universe. They believed that the sun was between Venus and Mars. Fascinating. Geocentric model. All right. With the Earth being at the center of the universe and everything else revolving around it, but there were some who were edging closer to the truth. Aristarchus of Samos was one of the few supporters of the heliocentric system, identifying that the Earth traveled around the sun rather than the other way around. A proficient mathematician, he tried to assess the relative distance of the sun and the moon from the Earth by measuring the angle between them when the moon appears exactly as 1/4. With the help of trigonometry. I'm trying to say triogeometry, and I'm like, it's trigonometry. He determined that the sun is 18 to 20 times more distant from Earth than the moon. He had the right idea, but the measurement was not very precise. Current data shows that the sun is about 400 times more distant than the moon. The first stellar catalog is in the 2nd century BCE. The famed Greek astronomer Hipparchus of Nicaea compiled the first stellar catalog. A record of his work was handed down by Ptolemy, an astronomer. Ptolemy's going to be a huge part of this. An astronomer writing 300 years later at Alexandria, by then part of the Roman Empire. To measure angles in the skies, Hipparchus employed the ancient Babylonian practice, still in use today, of dividing a circle into 360 degrees and each degree into 60 arc minutes. Hipparchus's 60. See, we just talked about this with that 60. So now I'm going to have to study this mathematical system. And I cannot remember what it was called. And now I have to go back on it. I want to keep this. This is an important piece to my puzzle. All right, I'm going to leave it here because this is where I get into my rabbit hole and I go yippee yay, and it just keeps going on and on. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this particular page on my website. This is where I'm going to start reverse engineering astrology to revive what it was precisely that Plato had. Yeah, this is my life. Isn't it fucking awesome? So, like I said, I'm going to leave the trail so you guys can follow and be like, wow, this is cool, because it's fucking cool. But also it's how I bookmark so I never lose my link trail, so I know where I read what when I read it. So thank you so much for being my audience, and may the kindest of words always find you.